Black Voices for Trump.
Absolutely.
That just happened last week. And they're talking about educating. There's a lot of education that needs to go on there.
Hello, our fellow patriots, and we have wonderful gentleman Milo.
Yes.
He's a guest today at our house. We had the pleasure meeting you
Yes.
at one of the Republican meetings in Doylestown.
Yes, that was actually a Trump Victory Leadership Initiative training that the Doylestown is hosting. I don't know when the next one is going to be scheduled for, but basically, long and short of what we were given is like the basic, Trump campaigning 101.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what that boils down to.
And Milo was graceful enough to agree to sit down today with us and talk about things that goes on in the world and to hear your take on things. We live in Pennsylvania, Bucks County.
Yes.
And that's what we're here for.
So
Milo is going to tell us a little bit about himself.
Sure.
And then we'll start.
All right, so I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. Went to school through a program called the METCO program that basically was an opportunity for suburban school districts to voluntarily diversify rather than having a forced desegregation.
Okay.
I lived in Roxbury, which would be the equivalent of North Philadelphia,
Okay.
and I went to school in a town called Needham, which would be about the equivalent of Doylestown.
Okay.
So it was a
Doylestown
huge
is a really, really suburban town.
Kind of like Princeton,
Yeah.
New Jersey, kind of
it's
like...
it's upscale.
It's upscale and
North
very-
Philadelphia, it's more like Harlem used to be, right?
Yes, exactly.
I know Harlem, it's all changing. Bronx is changing
It's
now.
all changing.
Everything's changing.
Everything's changing.
But yes, so I moved to the Philadelphia area after my sophomore year of college at Boston Conservatory, because without getting into the details, I'll just say that the program at Boston Conservatory wasn't satisfying what I thought my educational needs were. So I came to school here and started laying down roots in the Philadelphia area. And so that, I ended up in Bucks County about 10 years ago. And have been here ever since. I've been active with the Republican Party. I was very active in 2003 when candidate Sam Katz ran for mayor. I kind of had a lull because there wasn't a whole lot for me to do, or at least it didn't seem to be. Philadelphia is a rough city for Republicans. I can tell you that right now. But in 2010, I did start getting involved in the Republican Party again. At this point, I am a coordinator with the Bucks County Republican Committee. So I actually do have a job to do there. Well, job's not the right word because I don't get paid.
Yeah.
It's all
another thing we're
volunteer.
going to mention
because
today.
you love your
we're going to talk
country.
about.
You're right. You
don't want to... And you don't want to let it go.
Right. And, I was definitely a Trump supporter. I'll admit that in the primaries, I was kind of leaning towards Rubio and leaning towards Cruz.
Okay.
But, as things started to coalesce, and I really started to see, because you really started to see the true colors of the left and the Democrat Party in 2016 as we started to move closer and closer to their primary. And we all know what happened in Philadelphia,
Yes.
between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And it was like so blatantly obvious. So I'm like, yeah, Trump is definitely the right man for the job here, because we did need... Let's just put it this way. The establishment wings of both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are lacking. And the reason Bernie Sanders got to be as popular as he did was because Democrat voters weren't happy with the way the establishment Democrat Party was running. And we certainly weren't happy with what the Republican establishment was doing. And there was no way on earth that we were going to let socialism start to creep into government policy.
Right.
And, and we saw this on several points with the Obama administration. I might come back to some of those later. But the idea here was, wait a minute now, okay, so... And it was funny because we were at an event with our broker, our portfolio manager, and he would do these dinners once a year, and he would bring in a guest to talk about a specific topic with regards to investing. Okay. And this gentleman that was at the dinner that year, he said, "I'm not going to tell you who to vote for." He says, "But I am going to say this: if you think that free market solutions are going to be good for your portfolio, you know who to vote for." And then he said, "And if you think big government solutions are going to be good for your portfolio, you know who to vote for."
Right.
And I'm sitting there and I went, "Well, duh." You know, but yeah. So I threw my support behind Trump 100%. We had in 2016, we did have a fairly large push for Donald Trump in county. We lost the county to Hillary Clinton in that race by less than 1%. It was 0.7% of the vote she won by. However, Pennsylvania did go to Donald Trump as a state. So, even though in the county we didn't win, our votes helped bring the state of Pennsylvania in for Trump.
Why do you think we didn't win in Bucks County? Since I know from living here, Bucks County is a very Republican area. It
is. One of the reasons that we did not win is that over time, the Democrats have realized about a 12 to 13,000 vote advantage over Republicans in the county. But that alone wasn't it. It was they were able to get their voters to turn out in sufficient enough numbers. Now, here's the thing. So they've got a 2% lead vote-wise, but they only won by 0.7%. Yeah. So, I'm not calling that a victory because we still lost.
But it's still a victory.
It's a victory.
That tells us for the next election, we have a better chance.
We do, and turnout is key. And then so that's where we're focused.
I'd like to touch on something, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, yes. Darren. I know you always say that and interrupt. Everybody's, and this is something that I like to touch. Everybody's talking about we're going to win on a landslide. President's going to be again, it's so easy. Like the more the Democrats through their debates, what they're doing, people are realizing we're going to win no matter what. Mm-hmm. You know what? I honestly, from what goes on in the news with all this impeachment, the more I see it, the more I started to say, you know what, guys, there's no landslide. This is a war and we are losing. That's what I see because they're fighting dirty.
Yes,
they're doing anything they can, and whatever they're doing, it goes for them.
Right.
What do you see? How do you see it?
So in order for the Democrats to get Trump removed from office, I believe it's either a 20 or a 21 number of Senate, because you need 2/3 of the Senate in order to get a conviction. So that's a lot of senators whose minds they would need to change. Now, what I've seen so far, and admittedly, I haven't watched every minute of this. I can't. I have a job. Mm-hmm. So
that's the problem with us Republicans.
We have jobs.
We all have jobs.
But from what I've seen of it, there's a lot of minutia being discussed right now, and I know it's still early in the process. Yes, but I haven't really seen anything, and certainly, throughout the goings on, I'll call them, in the House of Representatives on this issue, I didn't see anything that would sway any senators. I'm not swayed. It's like I was telling the panel on CNN when the hostess asked, so if Trump is impeached, will you still vote for him? And we all raised our hands. And, I had to explain to her that if we think the foundation for the accusations is erroneous, then it doesn't matter what you do to him because we don't think this is a just process to begin with.
Right. Well, although I understand and I agree, I have to, and I totally understand where Boris is coming from.
Yes.
At this point, what is happening, what we see happening, and again, you're a little closer to this because you've worked in this kind of, not only in what you're doing, but in that kind of environment.
Correct.
That the Conservative Party is so used to following the rules, doing the right thing.
Right.
No matter what, we can't sway against or somehow different than we're used to doing. And I always personally had the problem, even when we started our group 10 months ago, my biggest issue with my party was, guys, you see every candidate on the left fighting for each other. Even though at the end, when they're left together, they fight each other too.
Yes.
But they fight for each other. They're out in the streets, educating people, telling people, even though this is false information, what they're doing. But they're talking to the people. They're relating to the people. They're working it. They're out there. Their message seen, heard, felt, and noticed.
Yes, and a lot
With
of
the Republican Party, and this is the conversation we just had.
Yes.
We go on doors. We go knocking on doors.
We do.
And we try to sway people. And not even to sway people, but kind of get to know how they're thinking. Well, how can they be thinking at this point? Where they were literally fed false information, false education,
Right.
and some are just ignorant to it. Some are so sick of it, they won't even turn any news on.
And that's you do get a lot of that when you're out knocking doors too.
And then when that happens, you don't reach people. You actually push them away, and they don't know what's going on altogether. And like from our life, we have friends that are business owners. We have friends that work in jobs that have to do with daily lives, upper scale, you know. But when you start talking politics,
Yes.
this is the answer we get, and this is the only answer. Don't even start.
Yeah.
I am so sick of hearing this. I don't want to know what's going on.
Right. Right. There is some
big
willful ignorance. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you do get that in many cases. You know. And then too, it's this. We live in a soundbite world, and unfortunately, because people have busy lives, they only are willing to spend enough time and mind share and their energy to absorb the soundbite.
Right.
That's why they're so effective.
So don't you think we need to change that soundbite?
I think we do need to change the soundbite. We need
And
to
if we keep doing everything by the rules as we know them to be for God knows how long, nothing's really going to change.
Well, that's that is one perspective, but I mean there are some best practices that we rule followers do engage in that we know have worked. Some of these things have been around for decades. I mean, I can remember as a kid. So like my grandfather was connected with the Democrat Party, and we're talking back in the '70s, so it was a very different Democrat Party than it is now.
That's what I
Our
hear.
parents were the Democrat Party.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was definitely not the Democrat Party we have now.
So I got my first door-to-door experiences because Grandpa would hand us a bunch of flyers for whatever the candidate might have been, and say, "Go do the neighborhood," and we would go. Actually, we'd go to our friends' houses to make sure.
You were what, 18, 16, 17?
I was younger than that. This was at like 11, 12, yeah. It was me and my I have two younger brothers, and we would go paper the neighborhood for Grandpa because we get to go see our friends. So exactly. So it was an adventure. So I mean, like I said, there are some tried and true things under the set, what you would call the set of the rules. That are best practices. We know they work. We see them work time and time again. There are still though some imperfect processes in that, because again, unless like you said, your messaging has to be the right messaging to inspire people to come out to vote, to support your candidate, to get off their butts to begin with, because a lot of Americans, and this goes in waves, because I can remember in 2014, something like 99 million registered voters didn't go to the polls because it was Obama versus Romney.
That's one election I couldn't understand how people were supposed to make a choice. Out of what?
Out of what? Exactly.
I don't know, guys. I want to just say something. This is just me thinking, and this is what I believe in. World is changing. Like world is changing. Parties, Democrat Party is not what it used to be.
No.
Again, with all this social media, with all the knowledge that lives in the palm of your hands.
Yes.
It's all different.
Yes.
So I don't think we can actually fight the war or doing things that we used to be.
True.
I'm not saying nothing wrong with it, but we can adjust and add and grow on that.
Right.
Because if we keep on doing what we used to do, we're not going to move anywhere.
Well, I mean,
people are fighting this war dirty. So we need to adjust.
Yeah.
And I think we should kind of tweak it and change it
Yeah.
so
I
it
mean,
works.
at this point, I think, Boris, what you mean, we're fighting fire with feathers.
In many corners, we are.
Watching these trials, and I can't believe I'm watching them because Boris here gets literally pissed off.
God
and he
forgive
leaves the
me,
room.
I'm sorry. Every time Adam Schiff picks up a glass to drink, I say, you know what, I hope you choke on this. I'm sorry, I apologize, but I'm being honest.
Well,
I can't see how there's so many lies and so many pathetic and so many goes through his mouth.
but that's
and
what they're there to do.
Exactly, but
That's their
you
mission.
know what? But knowing better,
Yes.
when you see it, he does not want good for America.
No.
Absolutely not.
They just wanna
He
get
wants
Trump.
the worst
Yeah.
for America.
They just wanna
and
get Trump.
he's standing there telling he's working for American people.
That's
don't
the
do
line they
shit.
have to-
I'm sorry, they don't do shit most of the time. Now when it's time to impeach the president that's working for this country,
Right.
they're staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right, exactly.
Tell me this. That makes me very upset.
I mean, I'm at the point where I literally want to scream at every single taxpayer and say, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Should we not stop? Just stop paying our taxes because what they're going through is this.
Right, right. Well, what
They're going through this.
Yeah, and we might see some repercussions from this in 2020 with regards to the House, because there are 31 representatives in the House that are representing districts that Trump won in 2016. So,
I hope so.
I the backlash against them, we can anticipate. I'm just going to say some of them are going to lose their seats. That
I
that's what I'm
agree
gonna
with
say.
you.
I don't know if all
But
31.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be as blunt and as honest as I can be, I do not believe this is going to be a fair election.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
I can tell you right now, I personally, and I don't mean to speak for anybody
read
else,
this something, please.
I personally feel there is 90% chance that it will not be a fair election. 90% chance they already know exactly how they're going to fix it.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, right.
90% chance that none of us that are writing that it's landslide
You want to
2020.
read this?
Yes.
This is a post from
Oh,
today
you can
from
read it.
Adam
Fine,
Schiff.
fine.
No, you have better English.
Our members know
I
you're
understand
English.
you just fine.
Okay.
The president's misconduct cannot be decided at the ballot box. Adam
this is
Schiff,
post. What does
Adam
he do?
Schiff says this. Wait,
Go ahead.
for we cannot be assured that the vote will be fairly won.
What does he do? He plants the
He
seed
already
already.
planted the seed
Yes.
that they're going to be cheating.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
This is
So what are we, the people?
This is why, and this is why I really don't put much credence into this impeachment proceeding, because they already planted the seed way back. I mean,
Yes.
they
within
keep
19
on doing, and it's working for them.
Within 19 minutes of Trump doing
Taking
the
office,
oath of office, the Washington Post is already talking about
Yeah,
some
impeachment,
group that wants
yeah.
to impeach him.
Yeah.
So, are we supposed to be surprised that this is happening?
Well, look,
This
No,
is their
not
plot all
surprised.
along.
I'm
we're not
surprised that
surprised.
they're
We're surprised
succeeding,
that they're
that they're
succeeding
still
and
doing
nobody
it.
stops them.
Nobody, exactly. Nobody can
Well,
stop.
okay. They, if we had been able to maintain the House, when I say we, I mean the Republicans,
Yeah.
have been able to maintain
course,
the
not
House
me
in
and you.
20, yeah, exactly, right. Maintain the House in 20. That's one job I don't want. If we'd been able to maintain the House in 2018, this would have been a very different story altogether.
Right, but we didn't.
We didn't. So so now we're dealing with this, but we still have this. Like I said earlier, we still have the Senate as a I'm going to say a safety valve here, and that, you know what, they can, flying monkeys can come out of their behinds, and I still don't see them getting 2/3 of the Senate to vote for this. So
Well,
I've
I
seen
so
already
hope
two
I-
ladies.
I'm being
I-
optimistic.
Yeah, yeah, no,
you know,
thank
I
you.
think-
But you know what? Sometimes I don't want to relax, because if I'm relaxed, I stop doing things. When I stop doing things, it's bad.
Okay.
So you
Fair
know what I
enough.
mean?
Yeah.
Because I saw already two ladies in the Senate, government from
Two
Republican side.
Republicans.
Already before the impeachment started, they say, you know what? We think we should have more information. We should. This is now Republicans saying. What I'm thinking
Right.
is they're actually being threatened.
They might be.
You know, because they're not.
They
And
might-
all this time that they were waiting not to submit the articles of impeachment for a month.
Something was happening.
Something was happening. They were looking for people. They were pressuring them.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're threatening them with something.
It wouldn't. I wouldn't put it past them. Not
So
at all.
that's what I'm saying. Everybody's saying once it gets to the Senate or to the, then it's majority. We're gonna win. No, because if this is how we got here.
Okay.
Now
Yep.
people said 2 weeks. Mitch
McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. He said 2 weeks, and that's it. We're gonna pass it. We're gonna throw it out the door. Now they're talking about it might be 6. It could be 8 weeks.
We'll see. It's
You
still.
know, it doesn't get better. It gets worse
It
and
does.
worse.
It does get worse and worse. And,
What
and of
can
course,
we people do?
well, we have to be able to make sure that we, first of all, when you were talking about education, make sure you understand if you read something about what happened today, like tomorrow morning.
Right.
So here's what happened yesterday in the impeachment. Make sure you understand what's in there, and ask yourself, did they leave anything out? Because that omission is one of the media's biggest tools, and they can
Exactly.
totally twist a story. But as I told you earlier about
Right.
with what's his name, George Zimmerman with the 911 call.
Yeah.
They left out the question that the dispatcher asked him, and it changed the entire nature of the call. So everybody's sitting there going, "Oh, he's racist. He's racist." Nobody heard the fact that the dispatcher asked him what color the person was, and he couldn't really see that well.
But although I have to say, even though that wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
in today's environment, we're still kind of normal people.
Well, we are.
You can admit you're black. I
Yeah.
can admit I'm white.
Right.
We can admit that it's okay that we sit at one table.
And have
You
fun.
never picked cotton. I was never bothered in the Holocaust. Yes, those might have been our ancestors. But we live in a different world and a different
Yes.
life. You're my friend. You're my guest.
Yes.
You are black.
Right.
I am white. I don't have to claim to be yellow or orange or say that you're light or blue. Or,
Yeah.
This political correctness has gone to a whole nother level. And instead of being politically correct, right now, we're at the point where we are afraid to literally open our mouths. Because if I tell you, I like your shirt, that might offend you in some way. Maybe because your ancestor had a shirt like this.
Oh, God.
But nowadays, this is the life we're living.
Right, and this is what we were talking about earlier. So I'm going to repeat something
Yes,
that,
please,
that I said that when we were not on camera. So my grandparents and parents came up during the same time as Martin Luther King.
Right.
Okay, and the entire civil rights movement was not what we've got today.
Right.
In those days, the push for equality for African Americans had to do with black folks just wanted a seat at the table. We just wanted to be able to live the American dream. Like you were saying, your parents
Exactly.
came here from
Yeah.
Russia for the American. That's really what we wanted.
That's what Martin Luther King wanted.
That's what Martin Luther King wanted.
This is not what the liberals wanted.
No. So we've gone from having an equal equality and giving me an opportunity as an individual to earn your friendship and to go out and earn money. That's what conservatism is all about.
Right.
What we're dealing with here right now is they want to force outcomes for African Americans. They want black people or white people to be forced into positions where they are where they are going to be. They've asked for reparations.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. Okay, and I haven't looked at the Democrats that are still left. To see which one of them support the reparations idea and which ones don't. But here again, we end up. We were talking about how the cultural Marxism is about breaking down the social and psychological
Right.
structures and things like that support capitalism. Well, if you can create a situation like we mentioned, people talking about the Constitution being a racist document, and America being a white supremacist country, and living in a beautiful home in the suburbs is an act of white supremacy. That's just plain old ridiculous.
Milo, right now you're considered to be the KKK.
I'm supporting. Yes, I am. I'm supporting the white supremacy by living.
There you go.
Living in.
We are Jewish, and we're supporting it.
Liberals.
How can this be?
Like liberals, like what they're saying, they want better for, let's say, African Americans.
They say they want better.
They're not doing it better for the benefit of African Americans. They're doing better for their own benefit.
Right. I mean,
everything is twisted away so the government can do, and they can twist people and make people not united.
Right.
To switch parties,
Yep.
make people not be strong enough.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. I mean, and many different leaders in the African American community have said this over decades. Is that we the government has created a state for African Americans where we are dependent on the government. Okay, when I say we, I don't mean every last African American.
Absolutely,
I'm talking about those
the normal people understand.
Right, exactly. The normal people do understand
Well,
this.
it's like socialism, because socialism, what it is, people become the slaves of the government.
Right.
And all you do, you work for the government, and only certain people at the top live good.
I mean, even
Everybody else are the
reparations,
slaves.
I don't
all the
understand.
That's it.
Yeah.
My grandparents lost their families in the Holocaust. And that's horrible. That's awful. And thinking of that makes me want to work harder to make my country anything but that. With that said, why should I get reparations for something 3 generations back?
Exactly. Right.
Shouldn't I learn from that, become stronger, and give more?
See, and that's part of the African American story too, because we did get stronger and we did more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so they keep calling themselves progressives. This is very regressive thinking. Whereas they're looking for equality of outcome. Every time I hear statistics, there's more black this and less black that and more black the other thing. Well, you're still talking about things in terms of a group of people, and I'm not having that experience. You see,
exactly.
And I always say this, that the difference between statistics and reality is the individual. It boils down to that, okay?
Well said,
but and again, getting into to bring this back to Trump a little bit, because he kind of is the reason why we're here, right?
Well, we're here because of our country.
Yeah, we are.
He happens to be the leader.
Well, let me tell you, there was a gentleman on the CNN panel that I talked about. There was another African American gentleman, a Democrat, and when the Republican lady that was sitting next to me was talking about, Donald Trump he loves this country. He didn't need this job.
Right.
Look at all the great things he's done for the country. The black guy says, tell me one thing he's done for black folks. And I said, I got it. So, I said, I'm gonna throw a number out there, because Donald Trump has allocated $360 million to historically black colleges and universities. Not only that, for the ones that were affected by Hurricane Katrina. He's forgiven the debt that they owe the federal government. Okay,
wow. I didn't even know that.
And was it last year or 2018? It was either 2018 or 2019. He has gotten a standing allocation annually of $250 million in the federal budget, so that they don't have to keep coming back and begging the federal government for money. So
I did not hear it in any news.
Well, this education, right?
Exactly.
right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, now that we're on the topic of Trump and African Americans. There is a national organization that is being run by a gentleman who's unbelievably well educated, named Harrison Floyd.
Okay.
And Harrison, the name of the organization is Black Voices for Trump. Okay. The Philadelphia chapter had its kickoff meeting on Thursday. It was very well attended by the media, and it was very well attended.
Okay.
Yeah, we had about 65 to 70 people were in the room. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And they came from different parts of Pennsylvania. Some people came over from New Jersey. But see, the whole thing here is that we're trying to get past the emotional reactions of people and do exactly what you say, is that we have to educate, okay?
Right.
So like that little tidbit I threw out about the historically black colleges and universities, there's lots of other things, actually I should say lots, but there are a few other things that Trump has done that are focused on the African American community, but there's lots of things that he's done that help all Americans, that have
Jewish Americans, Christian
You got it.
Americans, all of every
You
single
got it.
American, the youth, absolutely anything you touch nowadays, there's something good that he touched.
Yep.
Either his family, him, but no one talks about it.
No one talks about it.
And that, Milo, is the problem. And that's the education I keep talking about. Even though the far left, even though they're a horrible party, and they really do not do anything for the people, but they go out to the people and they speak to them.
Can you get you some
They-
water?
Yes, thank you.
They actually, they brainwash them, they
Yes.
give them false information,
Yes.
they feed them with these Green New Deals that our country or no country, the world cannot afford. The world cannot
The world
afford.
there's not enough money
Yeah.
in the world, right?
But they're out there.
They are, and a lot of what they're trading on is fear. So, in other words, pick an ism, pick an obia,
Absolutely.
and that's what they're running on. But see, that is all very intangible things. And I keep having these conversations with one person in particular that that you say. So let's say I say green grapes are racist. Okay, that's just my
Today
opinion.
you can.
Today you can. That's just my opinion of green grapes. That doesn't make it a fact.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
just like the trials we're going through, it's all
just like
opinion.
it's all
It's
opinion.
all opinion.
Thank you.
Well, we think we were very because this is
How
great.
did it make you feel? It made me feel like I'm gonna get fired.
Yeah.
Did you get fired? No.
No.
In fact, I got a bonus. I got a new job. I didn't get fired, but it made me feel bad because it made me feel like I was gonna get fired. When?
And that's
doesn't
what.
stop.
Yes.
And
Nobody
this is
can
what I
put a
said.
stop to it.
Nobody. Well, it'll stop eventually. And this is
But
what
there's a new impeachment coming. Didn't you hear? Maxine Waters announced it yesterday.
As soon as that's over, we're
This
gonna
is gonna have
impeach-
another one.
Yeah. No matter what.
Let's impeach her.
I think my point is,
Yeah.
and Boris
This
mentioned
is
it the
about
other
time
day.
that somebody should start.
We need to start impeaching everybody that does nothing for the people. If they waste money and it's not for the people, they should be out of government.
Yeah.
They should not be put aside, put in a different job. They should be out.
Right.
Milo, what do you think?
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I don't see us going through hundreds, because it would be hundreds of censure movements and to try to drain the swamp that way. But we really do need to do a better job at the ballot box. That's where the swamp draining really happens.
I agree.
How do we do that?
But how
By
do we make
educating.
sure?
By
How do we make sure?
Educating people.
Even with educating,
Get out
and
there.
right now we're
You
working
can't
on
make
it.
sure. That's the problem.
Well, you know
I
how.
mean, you can work towards that goal
No,
to
no, no,
try
no,
to
no, no.
educate.
Guys,
No,
I'll
no,
tell
no,
you
no.
how. I'll
I'm
tell
talking about making sure that it's not.
I have an idea.
It's a fair election.
Oh. Well,
Let's
Let's not talk about that.
we
Before we
all
get
stopped
there.
on that one.
Before we get there, let us brainstorm
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay.
But in order to do, when I achieve something, only when I get angry. When I get angry and somebody tells me,
That's
because
when I'm
if
at my best.
because when I'm calm, everything can fly by. When I get angry, I usually get involved and I do and I call and I talk and I get something done.
I understand.
So I think our job is to get our people educated to see how corrupt, how wrong normal people, because when they're saying Democrats, this is for American people, I'm like, which American people? I'm here and I don't agree with Schiff, with Pelosi. You know what I mean?
Right.
We should educate. I hate when they say that.
Yeah.
I completely. So
it's-
I think I get mad, and I want to make sure that other people that think like me also get mad.
Yeah, see, I think-
and then maybe they can do something.
I
about it.
think what you're hitting on something, because I've heard this from one of our Republican executives.
I'm glad I'm not
from
the only
Doylestown.
one that thinks like that.
He's like, where is our anger? You know,
Exactly.
where is our
Exactly.
outrage?
More at this point, it
You
motivates
know where
us.
our anger is? Well, not ours.
Right, but you're talking
But
about
most of most of our conservatives, their anger
Yeah.
is right at the keyboard. It's
Right.
right at the keyboard.
I agree.
It
This is
starts
true.
there and it stops there.
This is true.
And once we hit that keyboard, we're ready to do anything, and then we get up.
And then we go walk the dog.
There you go. There you go.
And that's what we need to know. We need to stop saying, we need to do this. Who the heck is we? There's no French word as we in the Republican Party. We're in America. There's no we. We are the people.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this. I'm glad that the two of you got fed up enough
Oh.
that you came to Doylestown one day. Otherwise, we would never have met, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Milo. Thank you. But this is what we do actually. We get involved.
Good.
This is exactly what they're saying. Instead of sitting behind the keyboards, we get involved. We're upfront and personal.
Yes.
We actually had a death threat already. Diana
Yeah.
and me received.
Literally.
Really?
Just because we're,
He
it
was
be-
offered to pay $80,000 to keep me alive. $80,000.
Oh.
But anyway, but this is what we do.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't. But if not, we're not just sitting. This is what we ask other people. If you want to get involved, actually get involved. Go into meetings, meet other
Yes.
people. Like, see what you can do together.
Yes.
Because only united, only brainstorming. Because today I learned a lot from you. What
Right.
you told me before.
Right,
What you told me.
you guys, yeah.
Information
Likewise.
is knowledge.
Information, yes.
It's power.
It's power.
It's
Right.
power. I'm sorry.
And
Knowledge
that's
is
what the
power.
Democrats do not want us to have.
Knowledge is power,
No,
guys.
that's right,
And
you
if
do.
we're all gonna sit behind and don't do anything, it's gonna be too late. We don't have that much time.
Right, and and what hurts me, what I should say is difficult for me is like when I go knocking, because I do a lot of door knocking. I was telling you guys about that
Right.
earlier. Canvassing, and I'll be hitting the street as soon as the weather gets warm enough.
Right.
Oh, by the way, petitions are coming out soon.
Oh,
So we'll be collecting signatures for candidates.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's a necessary part of the process
Okay.
because if they don't get enough signatures, they can't get on the ballot.
Is it?
You hear this, everyone?
Does this the same protocol in every state? Which one?
Yes, but the dates
Pretty much,
the dates
yeah.
vary.
Okay, so maybe one day, if you don't mind, maybe you can kind of come back and
Mm-hmm.
educate our listeners how to. Because some people, I only first time I've heard of it when I met you at the door.
I see. I see. Right,
Like I
right,
said,
right, right.
we love our country, but we're new at this. We're not politicians.
I understand.
We
Don't
just-
don't
we're
become
not in
don't
politics.
become politicians.
We don't
God
want to
forbid.
be.
God forbid.
You know what I mean?
We actually work with enough of them where we
our
know they don't want to be
listeners, our
politicians.
listeners, our patriots need to know that. So
Understood.
maybe one day,
Yeah.
we're gonna see what kind of feedback, what kind of questions they have.
Yes.
And then maybe we'll be able. to answer them.
That makes sense. Yes,
Right.
and yeah, I should be getting the petition starting
Yeah,
in a
great,
minute now.
great.
But anyway, long story short, when I go to a door and it's a Republican, and the Republican looks at me and is like, what the hell is our president doing? Blah 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 blah. And it's they have been swallowing
Right.
the
Left
misinformation
propaganda.
from the left, and they've been internalizing it. And so so I've got to come in there and hopefully whatever issue they key in on, I've got some knowledge about that I can share with them and say, well, listen, here's what the real deal is, okay? Here's what the news left out, or here's what the news put in, or the way they spun it that wasn't exactly, that was more of an emotional spin. And that's the other thing. I've had to correct Facebook about this because Facebook will every now and then I will get a piece of what's the word I'm looking for, of help that describes what fake news is, and I go, okay, you got half of it right.
Yeah.
Here's the other half. Misleading headlines,
Right.
using deliberately incendiary language, things like that. That's fake news too. They can have the facts all right, but they use words like bombshell,
Right.
Or
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same words they use on CNN,
Yeah.
MSNBC, the
And
same
they
day.
keep repeating it even
Yeah.
over and over. They pick one word and they keep on.
Right.
Well, that's what they're told to use.
This
You
this
know
is
what?
bombshell email that came out from and then when you read it, it's like yawn.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Because being in sales for so many years,
Yes.
there's a technique. When you sell,
Yeah.
you have to ask person to buy a certain item at least 3 times.
Okay.
Because when I talk to you and you
And
look
you
at
have to
me
say
with
the name
people,
of
I
that
say it
item.
once,
Right.
you just look, say it
Yeah.
second time, third time, only it plants in your
So
head.
it plants in your head.
So the more you constantly say it, it goes in the back of your mind. I see them doing the same thing. with impeachment.
Yeah.
With
Well,
this
they are
work
selling
like,
you.
Like exactly. This is
Yeah.
all selling technique. This is all psychic.
Right.
This is
Right.
what they're doing. It's like selling a car. Car dealerships. This is what they go through, salesmen.
Well,
Right.
You know?
part of advertising is what? And I
Selling?
love this thank you. No.
No.
What's the psychology?
Psychology, yeah.
No.
No.
What? Part of advertising? Creating an illusion.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
It's hypnotizing.
Okay, gotcha.
And what do you do when you hypnotize? You repeat and you repeat
True.
and you repeat
True.
and you
You do.
repeat. Even when sometimes you repeat very quietly.
Yeah,
not
but I
at
like
the
it
right
my
time.
way. Selling.
Well, I'll give you a
We
perfect
always
example.
disagree.
There was a Gillette commercial that came out not that long ago.
Right.
Maybe it was last year, and they kept they had the main voiceover that was talking about. The best a man can get, and different things, and you saw different scenes. But in the opening of it, there was a voice in the background, or voices in the background that kept repeating toxic masculinity.
There you go. There you go.
Rape
Yes,
culture,
yes,
and,
yes.
and it was funny because I was
You don't hear it, but-
we were posting about we were discussing
Yes.
this, and I said, "What is this toxic masculinity?" They're promoting Gillette is promoting something that is a complete fiction here,
Yeah.
and the guy, one of the guys responded, he says, "They didn't say anything about toxic masculinity. He didn't hear it."
This is this is what they taught us in college.
Okay,
And
the subliminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Because politics, it's good. We talked about it. You mentioned something. We found out that you're an opera singer.
Oh,
Actually,
jeez.
a celebrity. We have a celebrity now, a local celebrity. I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah.
Can you tell, if you don't mind? Because my mother, she used to be a teacher, piano teacher
Oh, okay.
in school.
Yes.
So when I was little, she always wanted me to teach me piano.
Got it.
Because she always had students come over.
That's
When I was
great.
young, I always wanted to go and play soccer, just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to be home. And now I was
That
stupid,
could
of
have
course.
really
I
helped our
realized I'm
marriage
stupid.
if you would have
Please.
listened to your mom. Anytime you get to hear a man play the piano. I
So
think
what's the
that's-
question again? I'm sorry.
No, but just tell us a little bit about your actual career.
Oh, okay.
Your passion as far
Yeah,
as I
Tell
understand.
people you're not only working with politics.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right. This is
We're
not-
actually human beings.
It's
We're
not my day job. No.
Exactly.
See, you know how some people have to find themselves?
Yes.
Yes.
I've always known I wanted to be a musician ever since I was a little boy. Because actually, I did start with piano as well.
Okay.
At around the age of 7. Over the years, I started picking up different instruments once I got into school, and got involved in theater and dance and the whole performing arts thing. So to make a very long story short, I went to college as a voice major and music education. So it was the two together. As not long after I moved to Philadelphia, I started getting work in with shows
Okay.
and professional work that would take me out of the country or take me out, or at least take me out,
Exciting work.
at least take me out of school. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I've worked in resort communities. I did a cruise ship for a while. And this is not all opera. It was different kinds of music going on. I've done tours around the country. I've been over to Europe a little bit. A very little bit, but I had a really big role to sing when I went. Yes, I sang Porgy and Bess.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
And-
have that
Impressive.
voice, that
Okay,
strong
yeah.
voice.
Yeah, I'm a bass
Okay.
baritone. Yeah.
Okay.
So so that was so I've been around a little bit. I've been managed. I've had agents over time. We're moving into my age. Which you only really see down here. Is I've gotten to a point where I need to stay closer to home.
Right.
The things going on at home to make sure that that things don't fall apart.
Right.
So I've sort of retooled the career, and now I sing with 2 local groups.
Okay.
And right now they're both running at the same time. So I got rehearsals on Tuesday for one and on Thursday for another one.
But you found time for us.
But I found time for you because I didn't have anything to do. do tonight? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, we wouldn't. If it wasn't tonight, it would have been soon enough anyway. You know. So long story short, yeah. I mean, the singing, makes up a portion of my income every year. My part-time day job that I was at today makes up a portion of my income every year, and the rest of it comes from doing the insurance and investment thing with Primerica. So I'm happy. I don't need a full-time job 9 to 5 driving me crazy every day.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
How do today's politics affect that world? Or do they?
They really don't too much.
Okay.
I will say that there is, when Trump was first elected, there was such hysteria in all corners, in all industries, and the performing arts world tends to be fairly heavily populated by people that are Democrats.
And that's why I asked.
Leftists. I was on one of the opera forums on Facebook, actually the big one, on Facebook, and it was a few days after the election in 2016, and everybody was complaining about. Sorry. Okay, was complaining about Trump, and I said, look, this is the pendulum swings both ways. The Democrats in Washington D.C. they'll get along with Trump just fine. I had no idea. I was being optimistic, so I said, everybody needs to compromise to come down to what's best for the American people. Compromise with evil, Milo. And I was like, but we're not talking about evil. We're talking about a different political direction. Right. No, you don't understand. This is pure evil.
This is why I ask. Even though you believe that it does not affect it,
it does.
It does.
It does.
Right now, politics affects
everything.
Absolutely everything.
Everything.
Relationships.
Cancel culture is driving us crazy. Yeah. Now I hate to say this, but it just was bad timing for the world. But a couple of very, very high profile operatic conductors and one singer are embroiled in sexual assault suits. And I hate to say it, but it's always innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But it don't look good for these guys.
But I'm going to tell you this while you open that can of worms.
Uh-oh.
I recently found out that we have a fund in our government for our politicians.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know about it. Yes.
That if something happens, they can actually pay people off.
Something happens.
In order if they rape somebody, sexual harassment, whatever.
It's to settle lawsuits.
Settle lawsuits.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, how is that fair to me, the taxpayer, that my money is being
used? They did it from experience because it happened so many times. Right. They said, you know what, we better have something put away to
so
them.
I'm going to say something.
Let's go back.
It's a smart decision.
Go back and start with the Kennedys.
I'm going to say something that is not politically correct.
Well, really?
And even though we're conservatives and we're made to think we need to follow the rules, we're breaking them at this point.
Right.
We're breaking the rules. So, guys, let us know how many of you do not believe we should be paying for this.
We shouldn't be. Honestly,
they should pay for their own mistakes.
Yeah.
They should pay for their own mistakes, and this is where the libertarians have some really good points about how government is run. That fund should not exist.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. And that's another thing too. And where libertarians and conservatives Republicans get along on points where when you start talking about what is the role of government, like. Perfect example. Everybody's complaining like God knows what about the school lunch rollback. Let Bucks County decide, or let Central Bucks decide what they want to feed the kids.
Exactly.
The federal government has no business telling us.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll go a step further.
Yeah.
I think every county or every borough should have the parents involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And let the parents come into the
right
school.
People into the office that listens to the people in their township.
Get a vote on it.
Absolutely.
Start paying taxes that are going to go towards that particular thing. Just like recently we found out, local firefighters do not get paid.
The volunteers do.
The volunteers.
Yeah.
So really, there's a fire department.
Yeah.
And only 2 people in this fire department get paid. Not only do they get paid pennies, but everybody else is risking their lives
Well-
to be a volunteer.
Correct, and and that's one of the features of, but one of the things about life here in Bucks County. So like up where I live, in that part of Bucks County, we don't have 24-hour police protection.
There you go.
We have to rely on the state police after a certain hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
There's not enough crime.
That's
There's not
There's not
yeah.
enough crime, right?
Yeah, there is. But no,
I'm
this
just
is why all of my neighbors are they because the police presence is not reliable enough. We all own guns, and most of us own dogs.
But what are you gonna do when they take our guns away?
Well, we have to make sure that they don't. And I think that's
with that said, Milo, you have to come back
yes,
because
Yeah.
we
we have so much to touch on.
We do.
And it's very important that we do this now.
Yes, yes.
We, the conservatives, most of us, a lot of us keep saying, okay, I don't have time here, I don't have time there, my life is busy.
Mm-hmm.
We have to realize one thing. If communism, if socialism
Oh my God.
comes here, we don't have business.
The world is
We
done.
don't, yes.
And we don't have another America to go.
No, we don't. No,
This
we,
is it.
we absolutely
Yes.
don't.
There's
So-
no other country in the
So
world.
with that said, Milo.
Yes, I
we
did.
would
Just
like
wanted
to-
one more
Yes,
comment.
go ahead.
The only comment that I wanted to make to the viewers is, and this comes from Joan Cullen. She's one of my.
I love Joan
She's
Collins.
great.
If you can tell, I have all her books right there.
Oh no, sorry, Joan Cullen. She's a
Oh,
local.
oh, no, okay.
She's school board purposely. So
Joan Cullen.
Joan always says, "Don't hide your conservatism. Be proud of it." See, listen, I don't know about you, but I mean, I think that the conservative mindset is superior
Yes.
to the leftist mindset. So I'm a conservative supremacist.
Exactly. Me too. And you
You
three.
know what? And I respect you for that.
Good.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
I'll have to come
and
back again
We're
sometime.
definitely coming back
Oh, yeah.
again, and